Welcome to Thinking Green. I'm Rana, and I'm here tonight with Brad Sheridan, a man who wears many hats and is a familiar face at Fiddleheads Food Co-op, and actually a lot of other places in New London as well. But we're going to talk mainly about Fiddleheads tonight. So welcome back, Brad.
Hello.
I guess to start out, maybe you can talk a little bit about I don't know, Fiddlehead's history, but also the history of your involvement, which is several years at this point.
Yeah, so this February, Fiddleheads is 18 years old, and I have been there for the last 8 years. So I first gained experience of a little less than half at this point, but Fiddleheads is a consumer cooperative. We sell groceries. Through our ends and the cooperative principles, we are focused on like providing groceries sounds so simple, but it's so much more than that. Like where we get our food is so important, and what we all know those stories of like how far food travels. So to be able to get food from farmers that are within 100 miles is like, it's important to know where that comes from. I mean, especially during COVID, we learned how important the supply chain was. And, you know, there were many reasons why Fiddleheads weathered COVID better than other places. But one of the reasons was that we had a supply chain, that we were able to keep things coming in, even as other places were having a hard time keeping supplies. So that was, I think, very important for the community. And it gave me a lot of solace knowing I worked at a place that like really was trying to do right for people. And we can have a lot of conversations about like all the needs of everyone in New London, and it is impossible for one place to fill all the needs for everyone in New London and the surrounding area. But we at Fiddleheads have really tried to think carefully about what our impact is on the community, what our community wants, and what they need. And there's a lot of different ways we try to tackle those problems.
And we're not in the middle of the COVID crisis anymore, but we're kind of in the middle of other crises that kind of threaten business as usual in many ways. We're seeing the big corporations just, I don't know if I should bother to put it tactfully, but really disconnected from their customer base, I think.
I think it's not as, I don't think of it as malicious as it can come across, I think sometimes. But yeah, like capitalism is designed to like be really, really good at one thing. And the one thing it's good at is hardly ever being like good, like caring about people. Like they're really good at making profit, and they maximize everything to make profit. And I think most people understand that does mean that like one person wins and a lot of other people lose through that deal. And one of the reasons that Fiddlehead struggles so much is because we have to exist in that system. And we also, because our first goal isn't making money, which maybe doesn't feel like it when you buy all your groceries at Fiddleheads, but because we care about paying the farmers a fair wage, that means that we charge more for things that are that have a different value to it. So yes, like banana and avocado are two examples of things that you're going to pay more for than a lot of other grocery stores. But at least for me, you rest a little bit easier knowing that those farmers, they're from cooperatives as well, and they get a fair life because we are going to pay them fair wages. And we take that to heart with a lot of the things, like the coffee is fair trade and organic, and the local farms, even though they might not be organic farms, they pledge to use the same principles, and frankly, they have more rigorous principles than the organic label these days. I think a lot of people are losing faith with the organic label itself, especially now that, like, whether you like hydroponics or not, hydroponics can be classified as organic even though you're not growing in soil. I would eat food that was grown in hydroponics, but I do think it's important to have labeling that's very clear for people, then they and can really trust things. And that's really what we try to do at Fiddleheads, is create something that people can trust.
And supporting the local farmers and knowing the farmers is a big deal.
Oh yeah. Huntsbrook Farms, Digga, he shops at the co-op. And I often will, when he comes in the store, I will go up and get like a cup of tea, go back to the back where I mostly work, and then I'll come back up to check on something, and he's one aisle over. And then I'll go back, and maybe 20 minutes later, sometimes an hour later, come back, and he's one aisle over. And he just goes through the store, and he just gets stopped. Everybody, either he wants to talk to everybody, or people are stopping him. I think it's a little of both most days, but he's the greatest example of a farmer who comes in and he's really engaged with the community. He cares about it. He's here because he loves doing the work and he loves feeding people. And that's nice to see people and know, oh, that's a local farmer. And I know I have other friends who are doing farming, and one of them also is just selling at Fiddleheads now. And it's exciting to see, like, we can support our community by growing food. And I think about our community a lot. You see...
there are a lot of aisles with a lot of different things. There's a farm stuff. Do you want to talk about some of the other things Fiddleheads carries? It's really got a huge inventory.
Yeah, so we have the bulk section, which has a whole great section that you can take as much or as little as you need of an item. So, when you need that pumpkin spice for one time of the year, you can get just the teaspoon of it. But then when you need if you go through a whole bunch of granola, you can come in with a giant tub and fill the tub up. You can even do pre-orders for members who you can get a whole 50-pound bag or 25-pound bag or however much it comes in. For some of the stuff, it's important that you can you save a little bit of money, and as it's no surprise that Fiddleheads has some things that are very expensive, and everything we can do to save people money on that it's a real pleasure to be able to do that. And one of the ways is, yes, you can get discounts by pre-ordering. We do have sales. We're part of a cooperative of other cooperatives, food cooperatives, that is to say. That's the National Cooperative Grocers, NCG, and that's how we get as good a deals as we get. Some of the stuff in the center of the store, people don't realize this, but we're actually like same prices for a lot of things. All the stuff in the middle of the store falls into that. The sticker shock really is in produce, but I've always thought it's not fair to compare our lettuce that's coming from a small farm that can't grow to scale. You can't compare that product to a product that's grown not organically, not regeneratively, it's just conventionally grown. It's unfair to compare those things. It's unfair to compare our bananas that are fair trade and organic to even other organic bananas that you'll get from like a bigger chain. They can buy in bulk in ways that we just can't compete with.
It seems to me too that a lot of the low prices that we get, they're sort of, capitalism does this a lot, kind of ripping off the future.
Yes.
things, not taking care of the soil. So if you're, I'm not convinced that organic food is really that much better for me to personally to consume in terms of my own health. But if you think about the workers who are exposed to the toxins and the soil, it's a big difference where it's being grown.
Yeah, that's something that I've learned more and more about over the last 8 years. The health of the soil is something like you aren't going to be able to tell by looking at an apple what kind of soil the tree grew in. You're not going to be able to tell by tasting lettuce what kind of soil it was grown in. But the soil affects, first of all, it affects the yields. So over time, a lot of farms are finding that they're getting less and less for the same amount of work. They get less of a yield. So that has been a real eye-opening thing for me, is to learn like farms are working harder to get less because of the way they treat the soil. And the story from the growers that are using a more regenerative manner of growing, they are finding that their yields are improving, especially as they learn how to coexist with the soil in a more cohesive way. Like the more they learn, the greater their yield gets. And it's interesting to see when you grow the same product in the same soil and you're tilling it or whatever they're doing, no amount of chemicals is going to help you at some point. Whereas the regenerative lifestyle, they find that like, oh, now there's this butterfly back. And oh, this butterfly brought 3 things of birds back with it. And oh, those 3 birds brought back 6 other kinds of plants. And now there's 150 different new things that used to not be here. Because we started treating, just because you're treating the soil with respect. There's 100 analogies, right? Like without a good foundation, nothing good can stand on that foundation, right? Like we all know those analogies, and it's true. Without the soil, you're only as good as that weakest link.
Now, you mentioned that although, of course, Fiddleheads needs to make enough money to stay afloat, that its primary purpose is not making money, which literally for big corporations,
Yeah.
making money for their shareholders is the number one priority. So can you talk a little bit about Fiddleheads governance and what it looks like?
Yeah, so Fiddleheads is owned by approximately 5,000 members. There's a little bit more to say about that later if we have time. But and of those 5,000 members, we as a cooperative vote in 9 board members who adopt a policy governance system to kind of like manage certain things about the co-op. Primarily, they are in charge of the general manager, Stan Bellamy. They manage him, and then Stan is in charge of all the operations. The board can't tell Stanley how to run the cooperative. They can only tell him you're doing a good job, or we want to see improvement, the sales are down, what are we doing? And they do monthly board meetings. It's like monthly, they take 2 months off for like the holiday and I think a month in the summer. And those are open to any owner to be able to check in on. And frankly, I think that it would be healthy for owners to check in once in a while. I like to go in for at least one a year just to see how things are running. It's not always smooth. I tell people cooperation, like we're not holding hands and singing songs all the time. We're arguing with each other. We disagree. We don't all like each other sometimes. Like we get along pretty well, but like it's not like we're all best buddies going out after work every single day and hanging out. No, we struggle just like every other job I've ever worked at. Like there's definitely conflicts. And it's important, I think, to remember that because we get these idealized versions of like, oh, it must be great working at the cooperative. It's still a job. There's still a lot of work to do, and there's always someone who doesn't do something the way you would have done it, And things move slow when you've got to get 5,000 other people to agree on a thing to make it move forward.
Now, Fiddleheads, not just because of its structure, but it does participate a lot within the community of New London in many ways. And gosh, I don't even know where to start. Fiddleheads interacts a lot with a lot of New London social justice groups, the Community Land Trust we mentioned, Hearing Youth Voices and People's Budget. We see you personally, but others from Fiddleheads as well at these meetings also. Because it's February and it's Black History Month, do you want to talk a little bit about, our food system and its relationship with Black History Month, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, the uncomfortable truth, of course, is a lot of food came from, initially in the country at least, came from slavery. And, if you can't admit that and really have those difficult conversations, and they're still difficult even today, you realize where all the land went. First of all, we're on stolen land in the first place, but then even through that, if a Black person was fortunate enough to get land, they had to fight to keep it. And most of it was taken away. I don't know what the exact figure is now, but most farmland, I think only 2% of it is owned by Black farmers now. And that's disproportional to the actual farmers. The owners, of course, are predominantly white men. Even women, we could stand for a lot more diversity in farming. It's not as if people, everyone enjoys not everyone enjoys farming, but lots of different types of people enjoy farming, and that isn't represented in who owns the farms. Often the people who work at the farms is pretty representational, but that gets back to who profits from all of these systems. And it's unfortunate to learn that we don't have much of a say in the food we eat, where we get to live. It's really unfortunate that we don't have the power to dictate our own lives. And it's one of the biggest things about working at a cooperative. My job, I'm community outreach and owner services. I think about it a lot, and it's interesting the way these systems have been created, and it's hard to undo them. And it's a constant argument of this is where you get to the conflict. It's what's the solution? And everybody's got ideas, and a lot of them are great ideas, and you've got to just pick one. And that's difficult sometimes.
And I have to tell people who are watching who don't shop at Fiddleheads that the Fiddleheads staff is a very colorful staff compared to most retail places in southeastern Connecticut.
And I think I talk with other businesses and whatnot, and it sometimes comes up, and I have to explain it wasn't an accident. We didn't just accidentally hire diverse staff. You intentionally have to say, okay, what on this application is unappealing to people, and then you have to interview everybody. You interview everyone who's qualified, and you just simply say, who is actually the most qualified person? We work at a grocery store. People speak different language. Who can speak Spanish?
Yeah.
So that's a skill set. Who knows about there's a variety of holidays that we want to provide food for those holidays. Who knows about these holidays? It's not always white people who know the things. Diversity isn't about just checking off on a box. We need a couple Black people, a couple Hispanic people, throw in LGBTQ here or there. No, there's real reasons why it's helpful to we are a for-profit business. We alluded to it a little bit, but we do need money to keep the doors open. And having a diverse staff brings in more money. it's just this, everyone eats, and having the food that they can appreciate. First of all, it feels really good to listen to someone say, oh my God, you have this thing that I can't find anywhere else. In this day and age with the internet, being able to deliver anything you want to your door, to have a customer to be able to say, I can't get this, like that feels really good.
So yeah, and that's also, I guess, one manifestation of Fiddleheads just being part of the community, because many of us who have chosen to live in New London, one of the perks compared to much of Connecticut is that it's a very diverse, interesting spot. It is not, white collar, blandness.
Yeah, I mean, I love a lot of things about New London. We chose to buy a house in New London because we love New London specifically. We looked all over the place, but we were never going to buy somewhere else. No matter what the prices were, New London was the place that we were going to live. And it's because of, at the time I would not have told you Fiddleheads was where I wanted to live. It was really the arts community, but that really, it is the community though. I want to live with people that I look up to and respect. And New London has that in spades. There's so many people and organizations that are really, they're so willing to be helpful and live with each other in community.
Yeah, we rented in Waterford for about 15 years, and then when it was time to buy a house, and we were looking, I worked at the hospital child care center, and we were looking places that were close, that I could ride my bike to work or walk to work. And at a certain point, it's like, boy, I like every single place we looked at in New London better than every single place we looked at in Waterford.
The houses in New London are beautiful.
Yeah.
Some of them need quite a bit of work, but the character of the buildings in New London, and you hear about it every time they build something new. You'll hear a lot of people who are like, oh, that's so ugly, but it doesn't fit in with New London. I think you get into you can't really afford to build like they used to, which is another sad thing, but.
It is. Now, one more thing, a different part of community. Last time you were on the show, you talked about Fiddleheads starting programs in conjunction with SNAP and WIC, and I'm guessing by now it's come to fruition.
Yes. So when Stan became the general manager, it feels like it was overnight, but it was probably took him a couple months to actually get it going. He started the Fresh Match program, which is a dollar for dollar match when you use your EBT card for all produce. So if you buy an apple and it costs you $1, you earn $1 for your next purchase in produce. And it's just, we're the only grocery store in Connecticut that's offering that program. It is offered in other states, but End Hunger CT partners with us to provide that money for the SNAP recipients in New London. And the program has exploded. As much as a lot of people will tell you how expensive Fiddleheads can be, it's the same story. When you hear someone being overjoyed that they can get the things that they want to get, that's what we want. We want people to be able to get the food that they want to get, and they not have to worry about it or let go without. It's the biggest reason we like being where we are right now is we want to provide that for the people who live in New London. We want to be a grocery store that everyone can count on to, if you need to stop in and get milk or bread, that we're going to have something that you can get.
So, and I guess maybe the last thing I want to talk about for community, most people who watch will know that last week there was a day of general strike. Fiddleheads was open, and in solidarity with what's going on in Minneapolis, and especially, but throughout Minnesota. And can you talk a little bit about the role of small businesses at a time when there's a lot to protest about the big businesses.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I'll start by saying the big businesses don't need any more money from us, right? Like, the small businesses, though, they provide such vital services to the community. Like right now, we just got the letter from the City of New London saying, "Do you want the Little League team?" Right? Like that doesn't happen from the big businesses, right? Most of them, they're not involved in the communities that way. We are deeply involved. Like you mentioned, Fiddleheads is a big part of the People's Budget Coalition. We're involved in leadership there. I go to meetings basically every week to fight for people in the community, whether they shop at Fiddleheads or not. You know, like we are dedicated to this community. And we talk a lot about New London, and I just want to make it clear, like the community doesn't stop at the border of New London, right? The people who shop at Fiddleheads, no matter where you're coming from, and they come from all over, like that's a part of our community too. So it is this symbiotic relationship of you have people coming in and maybe they're able to buy more of the groceries to keep the door open, that let us go out into the community, and we partner very closely with Fresh New London, another organization who's working tirelessly to improve food access. In fact, like if they weren't doing their job, Fiddleheads, we would have to create what they're doing. So they're like my number one organization that like I will support them in every single way that I can. But it's more than that. Step Up New London has been an organization that we've worked with a lot. They're actually working with like housing rights a lot these days. I think they were working in partnership with the tenant union, which just had a big victory. So that's exciting. I'm very excited. I've got the boycott signs at Fiddleheads if anybody needs one. And again, like just being in touch with, we're in touch with the New London Immigrant Defense. I'm involved with them as well, working to try and make sure that we can keep New London as safe as possible for everyone. You know, again, like I don't care if you live in New London, if you're a resident, I don't care. Like you deserve to be safe, even if we disagree on everything else. Like everyone deserves to be safe, whether you need housing, whether you need food, whether whatever it is. Like we all deserve to be safe, and Fiddleheads exists to improve the community, and that's our mission above the money.
And I think that people come from a distance partly because there really are not many places like Fiddleheads. In Willimantic, the Willimantic Food Co-op, I know, was sort of an early model for Fiddleheads.
Oh, yeah.
And there are still, some things in common, though I think each has its own character. But in most of Connecticut, there really is nothing like it.
Yeah. Well, most people don't agree with me when I say this. I don't know why I keep saying it, but like you can get groceries anywhere. You don't come to Fiddleheads just for the groceries. You come for the way, like what it makes you feel, for why we exist. Most people come because we're providing more than just groceries. Like it is that sense of community. That is important. Like humans, we are social creatures. We want to exist with each other. And I think that's one of the differences. I see it in the reviews that we get, is people will often say like the customer service is fantastic. We want to see people walk through the doors. That's important to us.
Now, I'm going to veer off into a totally different subject. People who have been going to Fiddleheads for quite a long time used to see Camp Dog next door. And that part of the building was vacated, I don't know, a year or two ago?
During COVID, they closed down and they unfortunately never opened back up.
So now Fiddleheads can decide what to use that space for, correct?
Yes.
You have an opportunity to expand.
We've been renting it for a while now, and we have expanded into it. We're currently using the space. We before Thanksgiving, we bought a new cooler, and that has been set up in there. It can be broken down and moved, but we're using it for additional storage, additional walk-in capacity. We store a bunch of things in there, and we're wondering what we can do with it next. There's always been a lot of great ideas. I think easily the top two is just A, more co-op, or B, having some sort of, whether it's moving the cafe in there, moving the kitchen in there, and having like that, or like some sort of community space, like that would be not for selling anything, but just like for people to be able to go and sort of as a third space just exist, or maybe take a workshop or something like that. And we were talking about it a lot internally. I think I was under the impression that Stan had made up his mind what he wanted to do with it. And then a couple months ago, he let us know we were going to have a conversation with the community and see what everybody really wanted to do with the space. And I think a way to live up to our own ends, our own principles, and ask the community what they'd like to see happen with it. And we have a survey out online, and we've gotten over 200 responses. And I think overwhelmingly, our community kind of lines up with the couple of the things we wanted to do with it. We kind of steered it a little bit in that direction, but for the most part, there hasn't been a lot of other ideas that we didn't kind of see coming for the moment, which is very interesting.
Now, is that survey still active? Can people still weigh in on it?
Yes. In fact, because the survey is so active, we are going to actually have like in-person conversations where we really dive into it pretty deep. And I believe that it's going to be at least 2 conversations. Maybe they'll happen at Fiddleheads. Maybe one will happen at Fiddleheads. Maybe one will happen at like the place, 74 Garfield Ave. Maybe we'll have like something there, and we can all kind of figure it out together. Again, it doesn't have, like, cooperation isn't always pretty. It can be a little messy, and we can have some feelings about it.
So do you have a timeline that you want to make a decision by, or is it just, when it happens, it happens?
I don't know what the timeline is, but I know that if you're trying to get 5,000 people to agree on something, it's not going to happen overnight. And that is sort of the big lesson, is like, if there's one thing it's both good and bad, because things that stick generally take a little more time to make happen, but also it is frustrating to be like, we could have done so many things with this space. I actually did a pop-up art show a couple of years ago in there for the New London Art Walk. So I had a bunch of my art in there, and I spent the day chatting with people about my art. So it is interesting to see that space being used for a variety of different things.
Yeah, I wouldn't have thought that, but it's a good location,
Yeah.
near the library, near the Guard.
It's a great location, and it's my opinion you can't have enough like coffee shops and places to sit and be yourself for an hour or two. So that's my vote if it matters to anybody. But I do think that you can't, no matter what we decide, I'll be happy with the space being used.
Yeah, well, New London, you mentioned, you can't have too many coffee shops, and New London is kind of blessed that we don't have much in the way of chain coffee shops for sitting in. We have mostly, independently owned places that each have their own, their own charm, their own sort of ambiance, their own loyal crowd.
Uh-huh.
So I think we could use some more of those.
Yeah.
Now, the reason you're on now is, I think, rather than some other time of year, is that Fiddleheads is celebrating a birthday, and there's a party coming up.
Yeah, 18 years. This Saturday, February 7th, we will be celebrating. We will be having 10% off all day long. We're going to have vendors giving out free samples and doing demos. We're going to have our kitchen is going to be we'll have I think it's 3 soups and some salad to give out. We've got the local radio station, 92.9 WDUP. They're going to be playing like from 12 to 4. They do a live broadcast. That's been a lot of fun the last few years they've been coming. And then we have we just decided to have another raffle. We've got like 3 raffles for the day. And I mean like, we have a whole bunch of raffle prizes. So we've got a raffle for like everyone who signs up for either the Fresh Match program or like the waiting list for membership or updating contact information. Then we're going to have just a raffle at the door for everyone who comes in can just grab a raffle ticket and choose a prize they want to enter for. And then I'll be doing trivia that night from 5 to 6. I'll have little cards and I'll be giving out trivia, and everyone who gets, I'll do one big drawing at the end, just randomly, everyone who turns in a card gets entered into that. But everyone, like the first couple people who guess correctly are gonna win some other little prizes too.
Now, is this specifically Fiddleheads or New London trivia?
So I've got 4 categories, and it'll be in 15-minute intervals. So it'll be trivia about New London specifically, and I polled some of my friends who've lived here for a while, and I've got a bunch of really cool little New London trivia. And then I've got Fiddlehead specific trivia, which I'm trying not to make it obscure because I've been there now 8 years, so I know a lot of weird details. I'm trying to keep it pretty basic and accessible. And then I'm gonna do cooperative trivia. And same thing, like I know a lot about cooperatives. I know most people don't. So I'm hoping that those questions will also be accessible. And then I'm just going to do pop culture trivia, because who doesn't love a little bit of pop culture trivia?
So you mentioned earlier in the show that we were going to talk a little bit about the 5,000 members, and it's come by in passing a couple of times. So why is 5,000 a magic number?
When Fiddleheads when they first wrote the Articles of Incorporation, as I believe what is holding us back at this point, they chose the number 5,000 members. I think at the time they felt like it was an arbitrary number and it wouldn't be hard to change it. And it turns out it's really hard to change the number. And we have to have all of the members vote, and it has to basically be at least half of the members have to vote to change how many members there are. It's a legal loophole. I'm trying really hard not to be frustrated about it because I don't appreciate the loophole at all. But yeah, having 2,501 people vote yes on something where we can't get more than 500 people to vote in the election, it's a real hurdle to get that. Are we
going to have door knocking for?
Well, what we've been trying to figure out is if can the state just make an exception for us to change the bylaws? Because it should be possible for them to say, yes, we're not going to fine you, change your bylaws and make that happen so that you can get through this hurdle and we don't have to burden a relatively small business with this thing that really, we're not like other places that have boards. We're not like those organizations. We don't have 50 shareholders. It's 5,000 people who don't really, in a lot of cases, people don't understand that they're signing a legal document that they own they actually own part of the co-op, and they have an obligation to be invested in it. And
yeah, that would be kind of frustrating. I don't have any suggestions really about how to get around it, but one would think that the board of directors could be empowered to change the bylaws somehow.
Yes, one would think that. The board, as I said before, the style of governance that the board has, these are people who are volunteers. They're not really getting paid. They get a little bit of a stipend to do this work. It is exhausting work, and they have other jobs. So there is a certain amount of grace, and that does reach a point where, yes, there is a frustration as well. But they're also dealing with state law and the legislators. they don't meet all the time. Like they
Right.
only pass laws 2 times a year.
Right.
So you really learn how long it takes to make things happen, and you've got to be ready when they're ready. And then they've got to decide they care, which there's so much that they care about that they have to care about, and they're only allowed to do whatever it is. They're allowed to present
Right.
5 bills or 2 bills or whatever it is.
Right, and during the short session year,
Yeah.
they really can't do a whole lot. They can't really take on new things.
Especially for one co-op with a problem that they'd have to make an exception for that only affects one co-op in one corner of the state.
And I imagine that when Fiddleheads was first, writing its bylaws, and it was a dream in most people's heads more than a reality, 5,000 sounded like a whole lot of members.
Yeah.
And now it isn't it's still a whole lot of members, but there's a potential for more. So people who want to you mentioned a waiting list, so
Yeah.
a person wants to be an owner.
We have a waiting list, and again, Stan thinks about it a lot, and we are looking to offer something to these people. It wouldn't be ownership because we're not allowed to add new ownerships, but we're looking into a way to offer some sort of benefit as like a thank you for people who've expressed interest for being involved in the co-op, and like give them a little bit of a benefit. Maybe it's some offer a way to like enjoy some of the sales that we have that typically
Right.
apply to the owners, or like the discounts. They wouldn't be able to do things like vote or run for the board, but those aren't things that most people really
Right.
want to do. And who wants to do more work for no money, really?
True.
About 9 people, it turns out, but
Yeah, many of these organizations have some people who are doing work for no money. There's
Yeah.
a lot of that in New London in particular. There's a whole lot of volunteerism here. I wonder, though, if people became members, and as a member, and a pretty early member, I thought of it as like an owner for life kind of deal.
Yeah.
But people do move. Is there a way that they can transfer their membership? I know
yes.
members who move out of state.
So when you spend, so it's $175 to become a full member. You're not paying that money and then it's gone. It's equity. You pay your $175 in, and that money stays in an account. And if you move, you request it back technically. And like the only way you're not getting your equity back is if Fiddleheads went out of business,
Right.
and the money literally wasn't there anymore, or if like 1,000 people did it all at once. We'd have to it would take us quite a while to sort through how to make that happen. But yeah, if you move away, or like frankly at this point, even if you were just like, oh, you don't have to give an explanation at all. You just say, I want my money back, and we give it to you. It takes a little while because it does have to be approved by the board. And as I said, like some things, at Fiddleheads, things move a little bit slower. And I think some people really appreciate that. Not when you're waiting for a check, but
Right.
like some people appreciate, we slow down at Fiddleheads sometimes. No one likes waiting in the line. We move pretty quick in the lines, but it's nice to stroll through the aisles. I mentioned the Digga going through the aisles and talking with everybody.
And he's not the only one. I don't get to Fiddleheads that often because, Bob is there frequently and he can pick up things.
I've spent many a half hour
But-
chatting with Bob in the back parking lot.
You really can't run in and out. Well, I guess you could run in and out, but
you
it would be
can.
really hard.
It's interesting how there is a contradiction of we like slowing down, but we also can really move too. Like I see a lot of people, they run in for one thing and they run out with one thing, and it happens quickly. I do it a lot. I'll run in and grab a cup of tea, or like my kids want like one thing, especially with my kids. If they walk through the store, I'm going to spend a fortune on it. They're going to buy everything of candy they can get. So you can get out very quickly. You can also you're not rushed out. And I guess that's the difference. It's not a rush
Right.
to get you out.
No, it's a great place to run into people who you maybe haven't seen for a while.
Yeah.
Because the best people shop there, right?
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to Saturday. Last year was our biggest day sales ever, and I'm really hoping that this year we'll beat that record.
Well, 18 should be a lucky number.
Yeah.
And since we were talking about the board, I know it's not coming up for a while, but you have board elections in a few months, right?
So we'll be looking for people to run for the board. I think there's even a vacant seat right now. So if someone really was like, wow, it sounds like they really need help and I know something about this, you could meet with the board and they might get you on sooner even. But I strongly suggest if anybody is even if you're thinking, oh, it's not for me, like, oh, well, I mean, it could be for you. Like, it really could be.
You can try it. Now, I guess I wanted to ask, so what do you see as like the biggest opportunities for the future and maybe the biggest challenges?
I mean, the challenges and opportunities, it's so simple. It really is like our biggest challenges are figuring out how to live up to being able to feed New London. Like, I've danced around and talked a little bit about how some things are expensive at Fiddleheads, and Stan has worked really hard with the rest of the team too. It's not just Stan focused on these things. Like Courtney in the fresh department, she's tirelessly trying to find new vendors who can bring in, like you're talking about, like bringing in stuff that's just a little bit cheaper and she works so she's all the time. She's putting so much effort into finding the best deals for people and the highest quality, like the standards that we have. Again,
the quality is fantastic.
Yeah, when you realize like the things that are just automatic no's for us, like, oh, this person sprays something on their food, so it's just a no for us. And we so many times we've been like, this is fantastic, their product's wonderful. But then you find out, oh, it's made with a dye or something, and that we said we won't sell knowingly, and then that's it. Like we're like, okay, well we can't do this. We have principles that we won't work with businesses that we view as not being concerned for their communities. Like we have. It is hard, and we work hard to provide that level of scrutiny to all of the things that we sell in the co-op. And we're not. It might sound like some kind of purity test. We're not perfect, and we make mistakes too. And we give a lot of people as much leeway as we can. But yeah.
And one section I've seen that has grown over the years is your to-go section. You're doing, it seems as though Fiddleheads is doing a lot more on-site cooking. How is that going, and how did it happen?
I think from the beginning, like co-ops have a really good model for like, we can look at other co-ops around the country and say, oh, you guys are already doing this, what's working well for you? So they have a lot to really play with of like what the future is going to look like for us. Like at some point, we're going to figure out how to do a hot bar and have a lot of heated options for people. That will be coming. The kitchen is... Maybe
Camp Dog has some
part
it could be
to play. It could be Camp Dog. I know that they don't have a lot of space where they are now. Like if you've ever had the privilege of being in the back, it's a pretty enclosed space that they're in. So that it's a real struggle for them to do as much as they do back there. But our kitchen team is amazing. Marla and Jeff. Jeff's the manager, but she's got most of the recipes, I think, at this point. And we've had a number of people, like just so many outstanding people over the years who've been involved in that kitchen, and they'll be at the birthday party again. I heard they're making like 3 soups, and they're gonna have some salads and probably a couple other things that they throw together that morning because they just wanted to do a little extra.
And I'm guessing, I'm not sure, but I know some of your past birthdays you've had, political bigwigs stopping by.
Yeah, we've reached out. I had tried to get the mayor to do the mayor offered to do a proclamation, but we're all busy through no fault of anyone's. Like it didn't end up happening. Well, I mean, there's still some time, I guess. But if the mayor's watching, maybe he'll remember us. But we do have someone will be popping by. We'll have all kinds of surprise guests, I'm sure, that'll be popping through the day.
Well, we're down to our last 2 minutes. So, any last words?
I mean, there's so many things I would want to say. We all do better when we look out for each other, and it's so important. Even if you're not coming to Fiddleheads, you're still a part of the community. Look out for your neighbors. Now more than ever, we have to take care of each other.
Yeah, and Fiddleheads is, along with a lot of other organizations, is part of that in New London. I wanted to mention that on Saturday, nearby, just on Federal Street, almost in the back, Mike Alowitz at Red Square is having an event about art and art's role in revolution, art of resistance, Saturday, February 7th. And it is, I don't know, about a block from Fiddleheads. If you cut across a parking lot's less. So while people are in the neighborhood, this might be interesting. Mike Alowitz lives in New London and has been doing political and revolutionary mural and sign painting for at least the last 50 years. So just one of those intersections of weird things that happens in New London. But as I said, it's right across the parking lot almost from Fiddlehead. So if you're coming to that part of New London, you can stop by both. I don't know what you're doing at Fiddleheads exactly at 2, but
there'll be something happening. But there's room to do. There's other things happening in New London too. There's a lot. There's always so much going on.
There is always so much going on.
Yeah.
We tried to schedule a Green Party meeting last
I think that
week.
the tenants union is having a meeting on Saturday as well. I believe at the place. I'm not positive though.
No, we wish them luck. So thank you, Brad, and thanks to everyone watching. Next week, I think we're not going to be live. We're going to have an interview for some peace activists who are do a vigil in Bridgeport and Stanford at hospitals for Palestine and for healthcare workers' safety everywhere. Mm-hmm. So that'll be next week. Thanks for watching, and thank you for coming, Brad.
Thanks for having me.
When the rain don't